People who've had parents walk in on them during the act. What happened? I was 16, and me and my girlfriend were going at it, and my dad opened my bedroom door and caught us. For like 3 seconds, we stared at each other, and then he said, "Boy, when you get done, come help me fix this dang truck." Down the hallway, he yelled, "And hurry it up!" We never finished, and when we went outside, my dad was under the hood. She said, "I can help too," and he told her to go to the garage and get the pliers. Turns out, her dad was a mechanic, and our parents became best friends after that. We didn't last, but we're still friends 40 years later. She got married to someone else, had kids, same with me. It was awkward for a while, but growing up, we just laughed about it over the years. Our parents joked about it later on too. My dad said, "Damn, if I wouldn't have caught you, I'd still be fixing that dang truck." Man, forget family dinner. Take her to go help you and your dad fix a car. My dad found a used rubber in the bin in my bedroom when I was about 16. I think he was fetching something from my room, and I'd carelessly left it on show on top of the bin. He pulled me aside privately and said, "At least I know you're being safe about it." And that was literally it. We laugh about it years later. I'm going to toss my own story into this one. My mom decided she was going to do a full house laundry day and strip my bedding, which I didn't realize she was going to do. She didn't normally. And me and my girlfriend forgot that we left her underwear sitting under the sheets. When I got home from school that day, my mom came up to me and said, "Hey, I cleaned your bedding and your guys' clothes. They're just downstairs." And lo and behold, there they were, folded nicely on the couch, with her underwear right on top of the pile for anyone who came downstairs to see. Yeah, that was a moment. But kinda hilarious looking back. The dad of my girlfriend at the time, now my wife, threw her bedroom door open. We locked eyes, and he said, "You want to get the fuck out of my house?" I said, "Yep," and started back out the window I came in through. Got halfway out, and he said, "Forgot these," picked up my shoes and threw them at me. Her and I got married 2 years later, and man, Christmases were awkward for a while. I have a similar story, but it was my girlfriend's mom who caught us. As I was leaving through the basement bulkhead, where I'd snuck in from, she said, "You can leave through the front door." Man, embarrassment is an understatement. If you were a smart arse, you could have replied with thanks, but I already came in through the back door. Man, Reddit is unhinged today. Father-in-law barges in. "Hey, can you help me get up in this attic?" Oh. Me with deer in the headlight eyes. "Maybe in 2 minutes?" Father-in-law. "Okie dokie." There was no talking while moving stuff to the attic 2 minutes later. Man, this is a punctual dude. One of my first boyfriends and I were going at it in his bed in his parents' house. We were being pretty quiet, had Family Guy playing in the background, and the lights were off. We were both laying on our side under the covers, and he had entered me from behind. We were both just facing the door. His mom came in while he was inside of me, and the three of us had a full-on conversation about dinner. Part of me thinks she was just oblivious, but another part of me wonders if she knew and was just fucking with us. I was 18, and my mom came home early. Luckily, she walked in about 15-20 seconds after we had just finished. However, we weren't fully cleaned up. She opened my door, and we kinda just stared at each other for a second before she closed it and left. Later on that night, she said, "Please tell me you wore a condom. I'm too young for grandchildren." Had my in-laws walk in at the exact moment of finishing with their daughter, my wife. Right as I'm ending things off, I hear, "Oh shit," and look up to see her mom and dad standing there with their mouths wide open before turning around and closing the door. I can only imagine how much worse that would have been if we weren't married. Wait, your house, their house, why are they walking into their married children's bedroom? Their lake house. They were out on the boat when we started, and didn't realize they'd come back. When I was with my ex, there was a time that I was on top, going down on her, and her mom walked in on us. We were too loud to hear her come home. She opened the door, I jumped off, and me and my girlfriend both got under the covers. She laughed and said, "What were you guys up to?" Followed by complete silence. She then came over and sat on the bed to talk about the plans for our holiday coming up. Still rock hard under one singular thin sheet with my GF's mum sitting next to me, I had never been so uncomfortable in my life. An ex invited me over while her parents were out. We were teenagers. Her younger siblings were home and just watching TV, so we went to her room to fool around. Her younger brother walks in on us and then goes to tell her parents. Her dad was surprisingly cool about it. Asked if we could talk about what happened, and I said of course. He understood that he couldn't stop us from doing it, he just wanted to make sure we were being safe and that I was being respectful. And maybe next time we should lock the door. It was more of a birds and the bees than I ever got from my own parents, which was literally just them telling me to please not be stupid. I was on an exchange trip to Denmark. The girl of the house invited me to share her bed. Her mum walked in and saw us. At breakfast with the family present, she said that seeing as the two of us were screwing anyway, could we continue sharing her bed for the weekend so that their uncle could have the spare room? And everybody sort of nodded that it was a good idea. After I recovered from the shock of that being the breakfast conversation, I also thought it was a pretty good plan. I was 16 and over at my boyfriend's place, which was a foster care situation. He'd just been placed in the system. We were going at it, and his foster guy, who he lives with, a gay drag queen, dead serious, walked in, said, "Oops, sorry guys, don't mind me," left, and then came back 5 minutes later with a handful of condoms and flavored lube, told us to be safe, and left again. We were traumatized, but it was hilarious. I've known people in the foster care system. I've got a buddy who went through it, and honestly, this sounds like the best possible situation this guy could have been with. Like, far less traumatic to have an incident like this than to just be in the foster care system normally for most kids. Girl invited me over for dinner to meet her dad. We were hanging out in her room later on, and her dad said he was going to run an errand real quick and was going to leave soon. Girl started asking to go at it. I said, "Your dad's going to walk in. Let's at least wait for him to leave." She says she wants it now. She keeps asking, and eventually I just give it to her. Lo and behold, her father walks in and sees my balls smacking his daughter's cheeks. I don't know why she couldn't wait. I didn't even want to do it. I just wanted a nap before working my night shift. I suspect getting caught was part of the excitement for her. Met this girl and stayed over after the second date. She lived with her parents. She failed to tell me that her dad drops off their pug on their bed before work around 4 a.m. every morning. I also sometimes wake up feeling frisky halfway through the night. So her dad opens the door while she's riding me. She puts her head on the side of my neck, so I'm just staring at her dad. I don't know what possessed me to do this, but while making eye contact, I bit her ear. Dad goes, "Oh, I see what's going on here," and leaves. We dated for 9 years, and the dad never brought it up. He was actually really cool, and the girl ended up cheating on me with someone older than her dad and got pregnant. I feel really sorry for the dad. Her mom also cheated on him, and he gave me a pep talk one day saying to leave his daughter so that my life doesn't turn out like his. Apple didn't fall far from the tree, and I took his advice. I was 16, seeing a girl from work. We snuck into my room while my parents were asleep, messed around a bit, and during it, my dad walked in. He just said, "Oh," and then closed the door. So we continued. Funny thing is, an hour or so later, I let the girl out to go home. I closed the front door really quietly from the inside, and suddenly the light in the living room pops on, and my dad was sitting there in his chair with 2 cold beers. He said, "Sit down, son. How'd it go?" We just finished our beers and went to bed after. He never told my mom. My dad was awesome. We weren't exactly walked in on, but close enough. For reasons not worth explaining, I was living with her at her parents' house one summer, staying in the spare room in their basement as we were still quite young. I was watching TV in the basement one weekend afternoon, doing some laundry. The girlfriend came downstairs, and after a couple minutes of chit-chat, said, "Want to go do it?" We went to my room. She geared down and climbed onto the bed, making it very clear what she wanted. I started going at it, and whatever I was doing was apparently doing it. She was loud, like, really loud. This went on for a bit, and when we were done, we got dressed, opened the door, and found all my laundry had been taken out of the dryer, neatly folded, and left on the floor in a pile outside my door. Message sent, message received. When I was 17, I was at my then-girlfriend's, now wife's, father's house. He went to bed early for some reason and left us unsupervised downstairs. So, we did what teens do and got to it. Well, about 15 minutes in, he comes downstairs. I jump off, he doubles back upstairs. I leave immediately. I kinda avoid her attempts to get me to go to her house for a bit. I didn't want to die. And then one day, at my fast food job, her dad came in while I was working and basically said it's on him, that he should have known better than to barge in on a pair of 17-year-olds, and that he gets it. There's no anger, and I'm welcome in his house still. This was 2008, so all worked out in the long run. I was about 18 or so, and was hooking up with my stepsister's friend when my dad knocks on the door. Me and the friend stop, and my dad pops his head in and asks if I'm going anywhere tomorrow. I reply no, and then he leaves. The next day, I asked him what that was all about, and he replied, "Well, I heard what was going on, and I just wanted to make sure it wasn't your stepsister." Thanks, Dad. Once with my first boyfriend, we were in the middle of the act, and his mom came in to put clothes away. But instead of simply turning around and leaving, she continued with her mission of putting away the clothes, and my boyfriend at the time had to kick her out of the room while I covered myself under the sheets and wished I could disappear. I was about 16 or 17 at the time. Alright, now it's time for the rapid fire segment of the video for stories too short to make a full entry out of, but too good to leave out. Let's jump in. A friend of mine had his dad walk in. Keep in mind, this was back in the 90s. He just looks at them for a second, says, "Well, at least it's a girl this time," and walks out. My buddy was straight and had never had a boy over. The dad still laughs about it, and it still annoys my friend. Grandma was on the phone and wanted to talk to me. Mom didn't think, walked straight into my room, walked straight out, and told my grandma that I couldn't come to the phone because my girlfriend and I were watching a movie. Dad opened the door, we made eye contact, and he closed the door while flashing me a thumbs up. Found him in the garage a few hours later and asked him not to tell my mom. He looked at me and said, "Do you think I'm crazy?" And that was that. I was like 16, I think. My mom backed up, closed the door, left my laundry outside, and apologized later on. It was an open basement, so we just stopped and kinda held each other pretending to sleep, cuddling, butt naked under the bed's only sheet. Her mom noticed us and climbed back up the stairs. Her family was not happy, but not too mad. Apparently, they thought she was a lesbian for the longest time. My ex's sister walked in on us when I was going down on him. She shrieked and closed the door so fast before running down the hall. I was caught by my mom in high school. She kicked the girl out and then prayed over my soul for the next 4 hours. When she was praying, I took a nice nap, and we never spoke of it again. So guys, that's it for today. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button, and if you have a story, leave it in the comments. With that said, I'm ReddList. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Take care of yourself, and I will see you next time.